Hey, everybody, welcome to today's edition of NDD. I'm Pete Mulroy. And unfortunately, I'm going to open today's show with some sad news, and it's something I should have gotten to yesterday, so it's completely my bad. Former Notre Dame defensive tackle Oliver Gibson, who was the 1989 USA Today High School Football Defensive Player of the Year, his senior year during his high school campaign, passed away on Monday. Now, Gibson was drafted by the Pittsburgh Steelers in the fourth round of the 95 NFL draft, but he had a really good and strong career in South Bend prior. Recruited to the University of Notre Dame by Lou Holtz, Gibson was an instrumental part, he really was, of the Irish defense in the early 1990s, and they had some damn good ones. He'd go on to play 4 seasons for the Steelers and then another 5 with the Bengals. That actually, which is really cool, and I didn't know this, it included a stretch of 57 straight starts from 1999 into the beginning of the 2002 NFL season. Highly liked and respected man, Gibson spent time as a high school coach following his retirement from the NFL. Very well renowned in South Bend circles to this day. Numerous figures upon hearing of his passing, including Holtz, former teammate with the Bengals, Chad Johnson, Willie Anderson, who was a star NFL lineman with the Bengals, and former Irish tight end Irv Smith, who was a teammate of Gibson's in South Bend, all wrote remembrances across different social media platforms in honor of their former teammate. So some sad news that came down the pike to start the week, and it's something I absolutely should have gotten to yesterday with the passing of Oliver Gibson, who was 53 years old. So you talk about some of those really good Notre Dame teams, obviously the national title winning team in 88, but you had some really good groups in the early 90s. The 90 team was solid. You go to 93, near national championship team. Guys like Smith, Gibson, Jerome Bettis, obviously. Even into the mid-90s with the Joey Getheralls of the world, the Michael Stonebreakers coming out in the late 80s into the early 90s. The list goes on. Chris Zorich, right, in the late 80s and into the early 90s. That list continues to go. And in those early 90s on those Notre Dame defenses, Oliver Gibson was a very big part of what Notre Dame did in having some really loaded and statistically great defensive units. So some sad news there, unfortunately, to start the program. But as we transition now into some more positive news here, we're continuing with our freshman profiles. Today I want to highlight Chris Burgess Jr., really good-looking defensive end out of Simeon Career Academy in Chicago. So this was a great sign for the Irish as it related to landing a kid from the Chicago area, because it's something that we've talked about on the platform. I've raised, many of you have commented that, quite honestly, Notre Dame recruiting in the Chicago and the Chicago area has been lacking in recent years. And we saw that with a couple of misses in the recruiting trail in the 26th circuit just the past couple of weeks and months. So to go out and get a profile of a Christopher Burgess was a big deal. Signed with the Irish in January of last year, 6'4", 250, consensus 4-star recruit, probably teetering as a 5-star recruit, top 150 in high school as per ESPN and 24/7. The list goes on and on. 2025 participant in the Polynesian and All-American Bowls, high school Army-Navy All-American. And the big deal here is that he chose South Bend over programs like LSU, USC, Michigan, Ohio State, Alabama, Georgia, and many others that gave him offers. So what do you have here in this kid who had all the high school accolades, all the star power coming with him, literally? He's a big frame kid with an athletic skill set that makes him a nightmare for opposing blockers. He plays mostly on the edge, but he can swap to the 3 technique as well. So his versatility, and there's that word we've been using the last couple of shows, really jumps off the page. And you're looking probably at an early contributor in his Notre Dame career. And a lot of these fits make tons of sense. Notre Dame, as most good perennial power programs will do, they'll do their due diligence. They have a makeup of the type of player that they want. You see that two-way ability, the athleticism, the speed in what Notre Dame and Marcus Freeman have been recruiting the last couple of seasons. We've seen that even in the portal, that veteran leadership that comes in. But can you sort of be a hybrid? Can you jump from different parts of the defensive line? Can you drop back as a linebacker? Right? Can you roam that third level as a safety? And if we need you at corner, can you do that? We see that with guys like Devontae Smith out of the portal, and we're starting to see that more and more in what Notre Dame is recruiting on the high school level, that dual aspect, right? That versatility. Christopher Burgess Jr. brings that. And so often we see freshmen in the program, in many cases, regardless of their star ranking out of high school, earn the red shirt. So this offers the player time to adapt to the college structure while owning their skills at a given position. Case in point was who we talked about yesterday, right? With Ko'okia, who could very well be given a redshirt season while honing his skills. The same can be said here for Burgess, though this young man has a monster ceiling. You could go either way with this. But when you take a look at where you expect the Irish depth chart to be from this position, the kid from Chicago probably slots in behind presumptive starter Josh Burnham and the uber-talented Bryce Young. So playing time on the edge would be limited anyway. I think we would all agree there. Add in the presence of redshirt freshman Cole Mullins, and it becomes even more difficult to get on the field, though we've seen Marcus Freeman do a great job to get the best talent on the field on either side of the ball, regardless of class. So if there's no redshirt, expect to see Burgess as a rotation player while he makes that transition from D to major Division I football. Special teams, specific run-stop downs, or in pass rush situations also makes sense for a player who, again, has that incredible ceiling. All right, you can watch his high school tape. You read all about how Notre Dame was gushing over him during the recruiting process. That feeling, that romance was mutual. This was a two-way affair here with Burgess choosing Notre Dame and the coaching staff, Freeman, Washington, really wanting to go get him. It's a huge get for the program and one that really is going to pay dividends moving forward on Saturdays in the fall. If you're asking me to Nostradamus this thing, it's tough because Notre Dame's going to have to redshirt some guys. I think Kia's definitely a candidate for that, as I said yesterday. We'll see what happens with Chris Burgess, because you got other freshmen that are coming in there. Davian Dixon is another one on the defensive line who we can talk about tomorrow that's going to be in that mix as a rotational player, or are we talking redshirt there as well? It's an abundance of talent. It's a great problem to have, and I think we all trust this coaching staff, now with even a new defensive coordinator between Chris Ash and Mike Mickens, to get those guys on the field who give you the best chance to win and create productivity, regardless of that grade classification. So the trust is certainly there. But this is, again, I've waxed poetically about Madden Faremo. Christopher Burgess, when Notre Dame brought him into the program as a commit, I mean, you're uber excited for the prospects of what could be. Yes, recruiting that Chicago area again, but the athleticism, the intelligence, the desire to be great in South Bend just jumped off at you, and it resonates. Notre Dame's building a program the right way. Marcus Freeman knows what he's doing, from being a talent evaluator and somebody who gives a true damn about the well-being of the kids that he is coaching. Guys want to play for him, and we're starting to see that. Christopher Burgess is no different. It's going to be fun to watch the trajectory of this young man. And I just do want to wrap as we transition out of that. And again, we're continuing the freshman profiles the next couple of weeks as the show moves along. But some recruiting here with regard to the 26 window. You're going to have the upcoming commitment announcement of Kedon Finley, Devin Fitzgerald, and Braden Robinson, all talented wide receivers in their own right. And Notre Dame finds itself in legitimate position to nab all three of them. Now, Finley will be the first announced. This all happens this week, by the way, if you're watching this midweek. Finley's date is set for Independence Day, and as they have for the past few weeks, Notre Dame appears to be in the driver's seat. Kid's from Aledo, Texas, son of UT alum and Green Bay Packer star Jermichael Finley. The Texas Longhorns, like Notre Dame, don't jerk around. So Texas has heavily been in the mix here, as expected, but it's still, from where I'm sitting, from what I read here and discussions I have, Notre Dame seems to have a pretty good firm grip on the four-star, who remains one of the top available players in that big old state of Texas. A day later, Devin Fitzgerald, another four-star wideout, is going to reveal his decision. This looks really good. Of the three, this is probably the proverbial lock, dare I say that. Crazier things have happened. Notre Dame's been the leader in the clubhouse for the services of Larry Fitzgerald kid for the past month or so. I don't see that changing leading up to the announcement later in the week. Yes, he's a developmental prospect, but one that does offer great promise. I think we see that. A lot of people questioning the burst off the line of scrimmage, able to create in the route running capacity. Look, the kid's coming in, and if you want to call him developmental, fine. But there's a role for him. Notre Dame is not wasting its time, nor anybody else's. There's a purpose to everything they do. They're not going to get Devin Fitzgerald just because he's Larry Fitz's kid. That's nonsense. There's going to be a carved role for him one way or the other if they get him down to Notre Dame, Clemson, UCLA, and Stanford again. The Irish sit as of, dare I say it, a virtual lock here. Then you got Braden Robinson going to announce Sunday, July 6th. So you go 4, 5, 6 in July here between Finley, Fitz, and Robinson. Robinson's the one a lot of people like, including yours truly. Red Oak, Texas, 5'8", 160 pound. The ability to get open off the line at scrimmage really jumps off the page at you. 80 balls caught last season during his junior campaign, 1,400 yards plus through the air and 15 scores. You take those numbers and then you couple it with the kid's high football IQ and just insane athleticism. It's no wonder he's a top remaining target, including for Notre Dame, and why not? Now he's down to the Irish, Miami, and Arizona. But again, if you're Notre Dame, you feel great about this one. And this isn't exaggeratory on my part, just sitting here hosting a Notre Dame show and as a lifelong Golden Domer. They're the leader here for these three guys. I think Fitzgerald, again, from right now, if you're asking me if one inks and the other two don't, the one would be Fitzgerald. But I feel really good about all three of these. This recruiting class in 26 can send even more shockwaves with these commitments if they get them. And we will know exactly where Notre Dame stands with this and the final decisions at the end of the week. So it's going to be one hell of a fun July 4th weekend that kicks off with a couple of announcements here that definitely impact the Fighting Irish football program and its immediate future. I hope you have a great rest of your day. Hope you enjoyed the program. I'll be back with you tomorrow. The player profiles continue. Have a great rest of yours wherever you may be watching from. And as always, go Irish.